months ago I was doing something down in the bilge and looking around at a few things, and I noticed that my scupper drains, the through hulls, they've got a backing board made from plywood. God knows how old they are. I mean, they're pretty old. And they're getting to be pretty fragile. So as soon as the weather breaks here and it's a little bit cooler, I want to take those old backer boards off and replace them with my version of G10. And I make it myself. It's not that difficult. Well, here's the process that I went through, how I did it, cleaned it up, and I'll show you what I wound up with. Well, here's a piece I made a couple years ago when I put a deck cleat on for my anchor. Well, so I'm starting with a simple form. I used a 2x6, so the plate will be 5.5 inches wide. And then I made a line along here on 2x4s, a line where I want to make this a little over 1/4 of an inch thick. So then the next step is going to be, we're going to line it in plastic, and I've pre-cut 10 pieces of matte fiberglass. Next, I'll mix up the epoxy here and put it in, roll it out. Then the next step will be to fold the plastic over the wettened fiberglass, put another board in that fits just tight, and clamp it down. Now, it's not going to be as compressed as real G10, but I've done this in the past and it works out really well. Now, I'm not sure how much epoxy I'm really going to need, so I'm going to start with 4 pumps, and I'm not going to add any fairing compound to this. I'm going to leave it as it is. For my first coat, I'm going to put the epoxy on the plastic. That way I make sure I get the bottom covered here of the first sheet. And you really need to roll this to make sure you get all the air out. That's one of the things that makes G10 so strong, is there's no air in it. Well, I'm just going to keep doing this, guys. We'll be back in a little bit. Now, another thing I've noticed here is, I'm rolling this out, and then I let it sit a little bit before I start applying new epoxy, and you can see how it's soaking this up. I don't think you want to use too much epoxy. You want the fiberglass structure to really be strong, and if you use too much epoxy, it's going to weaken it, I think. Alright, well, here's 11 sheets of fiberglass. You may need more or less depending on what thickness glass you're using. When I pull this over, I can see, actually I can't see my line, so I know I'm good there. I'm going to seal it up, get my clamps on it, let it sit for a day, then we'll come back and trim it up. Okay guys, let's see what we wound up with. Now, before I get started on unboxing this or ungluing it, I highly recommend some heavy-duty gloves, because there's going to be little shards of fiberglass that are solid. You don't want that sticking in you. This will help a little bit. And then when we trim it up, I've had a number of viewers recommend, and rightfully so, I'm doing some projects, don't have my safety glasses on, and I should have. Thank you guys. All right, let's unbox this, or unpack it, I should say. All right, here we are. Let's check the scene. Well, I turned before I can check the thickness that we have here. Check that. I'll turn this off. Let's check that. Well, I'm at 0.26, just a little over a quarter of an inch. Could have been a little bit thicker. But I don't think that worked out too bad, guys. Well, and that's all there was to it, guys. Until next time, happy and safe boating to you, your family, and friends.